There are many devastating and nerve-wracking conspiracy theories that can shock anyone. People disappear under various conditions that are usually utterly unsettling. Interestingly, there is no guarantee that such a story won't happen to you. Well, the mysterious deaths of Kris Kremers and Lisanne Froon can disturb and upset anyone. This is a story of two girls from the Netherlands who came all the way to Panama to celebrate their school graduation and improve their Spanish skills. Unfortunately, the trip, that was supposed to be cheerful and exciting, turned out to be horrible and deadly. Sounds thrilling enough? Then stay tuned to learn the whole horrifying story. Welcome back to the Mystery 5 channel, where I follow down the rabbit hole to bring you the craziest stories and theories all around the world. Kris Kremers and Lisanne Froon, aged 21 and 22, both grew up in Amersfoort, which is in the Netherlands. They were great students, communicative and kind girls who were wonderful friends. People saw big potential in both of them. Froon was a hard-working volleyball player, creative and inspiring. At the same time, Kremers majored in cultural social education, especially interested in arts. Girls worked together in a cafe in order to save up enough money for the trip. And only then they went on a special 6-week vacation that, as we know, was the worst mistake of their life. In their journey, Froon and Kremers were hoping to learn Spanish, make charity work for the locals in Panama, and celebrate Froon's graduating from school. Finally, the girls arrived in Panama on the 15th of March, 2014. They lived with a host family for a month when they were volunteering for the poor children. And this is when the mysterious disappearance begins. As the authorities establish on the first day of April, around 11 a.m., they went for a long hike near the clouded jungle that surrounded the Baru volcano. Allegedly, they also took the dog that belonged to the people owning the restaurant where they had brunch. The owners say they started panicking from the thought of what could happen to Kremers and Froon when their dog came back to the restaurant without the girls. At that time, Froon's parents stopped receiving text messages, and this is the last time any of the interrogated people saw them alive. On the morning of the next day, April the 2nd, Froon and Kremer missed their appointment with a local guide, which also scared their families. Unfortunately, the police of Panama were too slow with their work of finding the missing girls. That is why, on the 6th of April, the authorities from the Netherlands, including dog units and police, came with the parents of Froon and Kremers to investigate this scary disappearance on their own. They were desperate to find any information of their location. Only 10 weeks later, the investigation could be continued when a local woman turned in Froon's blue backpack on the 14th of June that she found somewhere in the Panamanian forest. Remarkable, in the backpack there were 2 pairs of sunglasses, some money, Froon's camera, and the girls' phones, all in good condition. The police found a lot of strange and scary information in their phones. It was shown that just after the beginning of the hike, both emergency numbers 911 and 112 were dialed. Unfortunately, there was no reception in the area, so the calls weren't answered. None of the future attempts to call never managed to go through, sadly. Who knows what could have happened if the emergency service was available for these poor victims. On the 4th of April, Froon's phone died because of the lack of battery, and it was never used again. Kremers' iPhone wasn't been used to make calls either. Remarkably, between the 5th and 11th of April, the iPhone was turned on multiple times, but without ever entering the correct PIN code again. This means that some stranger was really eager to look into Kremers' phone. Another piece of information was found in the camera of Froon. It contained photos from the 1st of April that suggested that the girls wandered into the wilderness much earlier before their first attempt to make an emergency call. On the 8th of April, 90 flash photos were taken between 1 a.m. and 4 a.m., apparently deep in the jungle and in complete darkness. A few photos show that they were possibly near a river or ravine. Some show a twig with plastic bags on top of a rock. Another shows what looks like a backpack strap and a mirror on another rock, and so on. The weirdest looking picture is the one where the back of Kremers' head is depicted. Many people were trying to detect what was actually going on there. What do you think happened that night, and why were there so many disturbing photos on the girl's camera? I'm willing to know all of your theories. The most important part of the investigation, and the most horrifying one, is, of course, the discovery of both girls' remains. Somewhere near the place where the backpack was found, there were Kremers' denim shorts, and that is the only piece of clothing that was discovered. What is more, the horrible fact is that 2 months later, just around the area of the backpack's discovery, the authorities found a pelvis bone and a boot with a piece of foot inside. The scariest part is that sooner after the foot discovery, people started finding many wildly scattered bones, precisely 33 of them. All of the bones that were with Froon's DNA had some skin attached to them. However, the remains of Kremers' body were bleached parts of her bone structure. Nobody has any proof of why the bones had been bleached. Hence, here comes the question. Do you think the girls were murdered, or was that some kind of an accident? Let me know in the comments. Somehow one of the Panamanian experts claimed later, after a long time of thorough investigation, that under magnification there were no visible scratches on any of the girls' remains of any origin. That means there were no evidence of the violence Kremers and Froon might have faced in the jungle that night of the 8th of April. As you have probably already guessed, this story leads to a lot of fascinating theories on what happened during the girls' spring vacation. Most of these assumptions are based on two main ones. People argue whether it was an accident or murder. First theory: accident. If it actually was an accident, the girls were probably too invested in their trip and unfortunately got lost. As everyone knows, in the jungle, there are lots of fast rivers, dangerous animals, and other hazardous things of nature. Kremers and Froon were perhaps too young to protect themselves from everything they saw while hiking. Second theory: murder. As I have already mentioned, these poor girls were in the wilderness of Panama, and it is highly likely that they were killed by the local population. That can be explained by tens of different fingerprints on the backpack that was found later. Some of the rural locals could have been passing the backpack around. They could be the ones who murdered the Dutch students. Nevertheless, people still don't know why and how exactly the girls died in Panamanian forests. The mystery remains unsolved. So do you find this unfortunate story mysterious? I'm curious what you guys have on your mind about the whole background of this unknown disappearance. Thanks for watching. Leave your opinions in the comments below.